Hey, BBs. I hope the new year is treating you well and you're busy manifesting your entire vision board. It's me, your favorite auntie, Marjon Carlos, and this is your favorite auntie show, powered by Cash App. This is a new kind of advice show brought to you by someone you actually listen to. Step into my proverbial living room every week for on-the-pulse cultural commentary, hard-to-hear advice, and must-hear interviews with some of the biggest names in fashion, media, entertainment, and beyond. It's enlightening, fun, stylish, and a little messy, just like your favorite auntie. On today's episode, I'm joined by my guest, fashion designer, and 2024 CFDA American Womenswear Designer, Rachel Scott. She's the Jamaican-born talent behind Diotima, the 3-year-old brand that has taken the fashion world by storm, breathing life into the New York fashion scene that has grown unpredictable and hapless in the aftermath of COVID and the industry racial reckoning. I was put onto Rachel's work in 2022 and was immediately taken by the doily of it all. Yes, those crochet knits that dot every grandmother and auntie's home draped over their most precious furniture and glassware. Scott has repurposed them, this otherwise dowdy material, into a clever tribute to the past and Black family intimacies. But the cut? Woo! The cut is the sexiest curve-hugging sensual designs I've put on. Rachel and I developed a close friendship from there, and I would watch as her star grew and grew, rooting her on. We'll be talking about what it really takes to grow a brand as an independent Black female designer, her year of nonstop winning, and personal evolution. Before we get into all that, I gotta pay a bill. Listen, we've all been there. A wild weekend after payday has left us looking at our balances, confused and questioning our life's choices. But trust, Auntie, there's nothing fabulous about your balance being negative. Avoid all the drama with Cash App overage coverage. When you get paid at least $300 a month on Cash App, you get a little extra protection from yourself. Depositing your paycheck unlocks up to $200 in free overdraft coverage with no fees. Not only is getting paid on Cash App super convenient, but it also provides you with an extra level of peace of mind, knowing that you're covered in case of a late night online shopping session. That's money, that's Cash App. Download Cash App from the App Store or Google Play Store today. Designer Rachel Scott comes to fashion through language. Drawing on her background in French existentialism and post-structuralism, Scott's interest in fashion began with an awareness of language's connection to culture and creativity. In an effort to stay close to the things themselves, Scott looked to fashion design as a moment for intellectual, aesthetic, and corporal unity to be explored. Having worked at all levels of the design process, from designer to executive to consultant throughout her 16-year career in Milan and New York City, Scott brings vast technical and creative knowledge to Diotima. Foundational experiences at Costume Nationale in Italy laid the groundwork for an approach to fashion rooted in a reverence for craft, construction, and fine materials. And her design sensibility as a Jamaican grounds her work in the concrete intersection of the historical, political, and the aesthetic. A month ago, Rachel was crowned the American Womenswear Designer of the Year by the CFDA. And just a couple weeks ago, Rachel won the Empowered Vision Award from the CFDA and Fraser family, which honors her ability to navigate the complicated landscape of fashion as an independent designer. I'm so excited to welcome Rachel Scott to the show. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here
Thank you for having me.
and agreeing to be on my show.
This is exciting.
I'm a little nervous.
Same.
Why?
I talk to you all the time, but now it's so formal.
No, listen.
You're interviewing me.
This is Auntie's living room.
Okay.
You're just so intelligent. I'm just I hope these questions are up to.
Girl,
What?
I might be, but it might not always show when I answer questions.
No,
We'll see.
it's always shows. It always shows. But I'm just so honored that you would do your favorite auntie and you're here because you're coming off such an incredible year.
It's a good year.
Yeah,
It's a good year.
it was a year of abundance.
Yeah.
How do you feel? You're on a winning streak. You were also voted one of the top 10 designers in the world in that Vogue poll.
Runway poll, I know.
Just shy of Mrs. Prada, your girl.
My icon.
Shout out.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I don't know. I still really can't comprehend any of it. It's really madness, especially when it's something you've been working towards for so long and dreamed of, and then things start to happen, and then it's almost like, I don't know, it just keeps gaining momentum.
Yes.
It's not that the work gets any less. I mean, it gets more and more intense, but it's just so rewarding, and I'm just super grateful.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because you work so hard and you deserve it. You were, before we even started recording, she was like sending text messages because you're just on that.
Time is ticking.
No, honey, time is money. You're an industrious Capricorn.
I am a Capricorn. I can't help myself.
And listen, you put in you get out what you put in, and you put in so much. So for you to be CFDA Womenswear Designer of the Year, incredible.
Yeah.
I think what I didn't know was that you were the first Black woman to win this award. That really took me by surprise. I would love to know your opinion on like the first of.
Yeah.
You know, because I think it's both an honor, but it also can be like pressure filled or maybe even lonely. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like what your thoughts are.
I mean, I actually didn't know either when I won that night, and I wish I had, because I would have said something about it.
Okay.
I didn't think I was going to win, so I know. I mean, look at the competition.
But you're the future.
True, but you know.
Period.
I want to be parts of it. I think there are, you know, that night really showed that there is a different energy and one that's more independent. And I feel so lucky to be a part of that. But the people that were nominated, most of them are people I have so much respect for and have had so much respect for, you know, for 20 odd years. And also they have multi-billion-dollar companies, of which I have no multis. But future multis, hopefully. But yeah, I was not expecting it, and I wish I'd known. I don't think it's lonely, because I think that I come after a long line of incredible Black women designers ahead of me. The night after the awards, I did a WWD thing. Well, actually, there was a dinner, and then the next day there was a talk. And I met Tracy Reese.
Oh, man, icon.
Yeah, who I'd never met. And she was like, oh, so excited to meet you. And I was like, can you believe I'm the first Black woman? She's like, I can.
I bet she has stories to tell.
I'm sure. I need to have coffee with her. But also, none of this would have been possible if it wasn't for people like her pioneering, you know. Yeah. And it sucks that it's 2024 that it happened. But finally, I guess.
Finally.
Hope many more to come.
Was it intimidating to be in a category of multi-billionaire?
Yes.
Retail empire?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course it was. I mean, I thought it was a mistake.
Really?
Yeah. Well, last year I won Emerging, which was amazing. I was so excited. And then when I got the nomination, I literally screamed. I was in an appointment. It's supposed to be confidential to the next day, but I got one of these Apple Watches, you know?
Oh my gosh, you and your Apple Watch. That's so funny. I love that.
They need to sponsor me, actually.
Yes. Apple. Please reach out to
my PR is... But anyway, so I got this on my watch and I was like, what is this? So I opened it in the middle of a Marcus appointment in September, a few days after the show.
I remember.
And screamed. Yeah. Screamed.
Yeah.
Because it's like, the brand is only 3.5 years old, almost 4 years old. And we're small. We're really small. Yes. But it's insane that, because what's really crazy about CFDA Awards is that it's your peers that are nominating you. So it's people in your industry, designers, business people, lawyers, everyone, for them to see the work and think there's value in it to the point where they thought I should be nominated and voted on as Women's Wear Designer of the Year is just insane. Like I still can't comprehend it.
But you know what's so funny? I felt like at your show, the room was so full of people and especially Black women, but so many people who were really in love with the collection and were really excited. So
Yeah.
I already knew that there was just an energy building. So I think you had like a little dinner, and then we talked at the dinner, and then a couple days later you had this huge announcement, and I was like, it felt right. It felt like this is an organic extension of what you're already creating, and the momentum was right.
Yeah.
I know that, between you and the multi-billion-dollar empires of it all, that's a really huge gap, though, because you are an emerging, independent, cash-only, Black female-run brand. Those are multi-hyphenates.
Yeah.
And I think that gap says something about fashion, American fashion. I'd love to get your opinion on what it says about American fashion industry right now, and how we can like bridge that gap.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely something that wouldn't be possible in Europe. I mean, let's be honest.
Why is that?
It's just a much more conservative industry.
Okay.
Even though, of course, everyone talks about this as being much more creative. It's like there is this pipeline for the young, independent or emerging brands or designers to become creative directors, mostly men, mostly white men.
Right.
But outside of that, there's no commercial viability for a lot of these small brands in Europe. It's just like cult status, and it's almost like resume building. I mean, it's not always true, but it's largely true. And I don't think that there is support of multi-brand retailers, and boutiques the way there is in the States. So, if you launch a brand here, and if people are interested in it, they will actually place an order. And that is a real thing. If you don't have an order, you don't have a business,
Right.
But also, it's just much more open in terms of culture. And, it's not lost on me that the people that picked up the brand in the very beginning and started putting it on shoots and on their clients was Black women, Black stylists and editors in New York.
Yeah.
And they really rode for me, and they still do. And if it wasn't for them, I literally would not have a business.
Right.
But I don't know that kind of championing within the industry, within community, really exists anywhere else. So I'm so lucky that I'm here. I didn't, I lived here for a long time working for other people. But before that, I lived in Milan, and I wanted to start a brand. I've wanted to start a brand since 2007. But there's no way. There's absolutely no way. If I was still living in Milan, I would be maybe design director, not even creative director. There's just no way for a Black woman to have that kind of position.
Right. Which is really upsetting. Because,
really,
just if looking at kind of the, all of the creative directors who've gone in and out in the last week or two.
Exactly.
Who all look the same, and all feel the same. And I don't really know what distinguishes them. But that is real. And I'm wondering, so because it's built upon more openness and people are willing to take chances, retailers just need to take more chances in building that gap.
Absolutely. Because it's one thing to do a show and make a collection for the show and do that a couple of times. Maybe you can save up enough money to do that and do it as cheaply as possible. But without people investing, and by investing, I mean placing an order, a wholesale order, there's no way to continue it. So it's, at that point, it's just like a passion project. I mean, this is a passion project still, but at least it's being produced and going, most of the collection is being produced. I don't cancel a lot of styles.
Right. I need those shoes.
The shoes are stewing. So you need that support from retailers. And, I still don't have many stores in Europe 4 years in. And I think it's because, and I guess it's a different retail space there.
Yeah.
People are very much concerned with heritage. And
I was just about to say, it seems like you could, like you're saying, you could be in Milan, but you would definitely be lower on the totem pole, and like you wouldn't have even gotten as far as you have there. I feel like it's very wait your turn. And
also, what's your pedigree?
ooh,
Yeah.
right. Like, who's your mom? Who's your dad? Your
What
lineage.
school did you go
What
to?
school did you
Yeah,
go to?
lineage,
Okay.
what school?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you work for free for years and years and years
Yes.
in order to grow to the top because you already have the resources to support yourself?
Right.
I mean, that's what it is there. Yeah, what school did you go to? Who have you worked for? Yeah, I feel like what's nice about the States is that you can really be an outsider.
Yeah.
You can be an outsider and people are just interested in what you have to say or what you're presenting. And if they find that interesting, then they'll keep looking. But if you're there, you're an outsider,
Yeah.
no one will look. No one will look. But so the stores, they look. So if you do have some, I don't know, attention on the brand in the States, which is a lot more attainable. The thing about European stores is that they'll wait and see. So they'll watch for a few seasons. And I get that because, as I was saying, it's a different retail space.
Yeah.
But it's a much longer game.
Right.
And you could close waiting for them to take a chance on you.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, so many brands have
Yeah.
closed in recent years. That's really, really interesting to understand a bit more, because I felt like at your show, there was just so much excitement in that room, and it felt like you kind of resuscitated a very sad.
I didn't do that on my own.
I mean, I know you didn't do that on your own, but I'm just saying you resuscitated a very sad fashion week, I will have to say. And in recent years.
Yeah.
That's just me being me.
I think there's a few of us.
Yes.
I think that it was a very, no, everyone discounted New York Fashion Week for a long time.
Right.
Because New York is commercial. It's where the commercial brands are, and that is true.
Right.
But like I was saying, there is value to having that commercial aspect. But I think that because there is this like radical possibility of being an outsider and having audience, and there's just a newer generation of, and by new, I don't mean young. I just mean well, young by certain standards, because I am young.
Yes, we are.
But but newer generation of just other voices that have come about over the last few years, and that are like it's coalescing into a community of, I don't want to say outsider brands, but just not what you would expect from New York. And there's a heavy focus on community.
Yeah.
There's like an understanding of craft and clothes making in a way that is really exciting and has like a very just an interesting touch to it that I don't actually see. It's not as heavy-handed and kind of like how do I say that? Like creative director, this is my vision of the world. It's a bit more open. I think it interacts with the customer a lot more, but in a way that's really interesting. And so there's a new generation, and it's given so much energy to New York. Yeah, I'm just happy to be a part of it.
No, I agree with that. I feel like the people who walked away from that night were a part of that.
Yeah.
All really, you, Henry, Raul, Willie, like it was all like, this is it. This is next. And
and everyone there, and Henry and I talk about this a lot, but everyone there has experience. We're not like the creative genius coming out of CSM, with my idea of the world with no knowledge of the world,
Yes.
It's a little different,
No, absolutely. I mean, you've worked on so many design teams, and you really gave your props to your design teams and your and those who work behind the scenes when you won the award. Is that experience, do you feel like that's colored the way that you lead at Diotima? And like,
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think, this is really funny. I was talking to my therapist about this.
Period.
Because she's like, why? I don't know how it came about. She's like, why do you have a hard time accepting like praise?
Ooh.
Or like,
okay.
And I'm like, well, because we never get it. I spent 17 years invisible. And it was okay because you love what you do so much that nothing, it's not like you're doing it for adoration. I mean, that's not why we do it. But you train yourself, and the world trains you to not take any of it as your, like, you haven't done any of it. It just happened to you. And I said this, I said this to a really important editor the other night when we had this event with Gabby, and she was like, how are you? And I said to her, I'm just so grateful. Like, I can't believe this is all happening, but I'm just so lucky. And then she was like, hold a second. You have agency in what's happening in your life. It didn't all just happen to you. You also did something. Yes, of course, you've been lucky, but also you did this. And I was like, really? I don't know. So yeah, I think it's hard. It's hard to acknowledge and accept. Yeah.
That's interesting.
But so that's why it's so important to me that people understand how important they are in the process, because like fashion design, having a brand is such a collaborative thing.
Yes.
There is no way, like, there is no creative genius that can build a brand or build a collection on their own. I mean, every single person has something to do with every piece that's being made, you know? And it's whether you want to accept that or think that you're God's gift to the world, it's a different story. But even like these trousers, like the wool is from a Japanese mill that's 8 generations strong of the same family running this mill. Right. And we spoke so much about the hand finish of the material and how I wanted it to feel dry and very sharp. And then I work with this manufacturer that does handwork, and they had these swatches of spaghetti that they were doing on something totally different. And I was like, this is interesting. Just this one thing. Let's play with this. We experimented. Of course, I like work with the pattern maker. The pattern maker does something. We get to the fitting, the fit model, like the way she just wears the clothes and moves in it, then changes what I think about it. Every single, like the stylist, when we're styling and preparing, Marika Elaine said, not the stylist, my stylist that I'm so lucky to have. When we're like preparing for the show, then something else changes. So it's like, I've just counted maybe 10 people in one pair of pants, and there's more. There's more people involved in that, you know? So it's just really important for people to know how collaborative it is, and for people who are parts of the process to understand how valuable and appreciated they are.
I love that. It's such a holistic approach to design. And I think that like that's really necessary, because I don't think people always understand that. They might see a viral piece and just think it's fabulous, but they don't know that there's so much behind it.
Yeah. And there's so much chance too.
Say that.
There's so
tell
much
me more.
There's so much chance. So I mean, at least I think if you're open to it, because, you know, maybe, I mean, it didn't happen in the case of this, but maybe what if I had wanted the spaghetti to go down both sides of the leg, both legs, but I was asking them to do a trial, one leg one way, one leg the other way. And then they understood that as one leg is this and the other leg is that. And then it comes back to me. And then I'm like, actually, this is way more interesting than what I was thinking about, you know, like, but you have to be open to it, because I think that it's like, there's this term, I'm just going to give you a heady term. It's called Transindividuation.
Individuation. You are a post-structuralist.
Yes, girl.
Give it to me.
But it's like the way you want it. But it's like we all contribute, and we all grow and we become like more full humans because of the things that we do together, you know?
I love that.
And we make more beautiful things.
We do. We make
beauty is like through collaborative work, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like I definitely believe in, as an artist, we need alone time, but there's no way you can do anything always on your own. And like, you have to have a support team that's there to like help you bring this to life.
Definitely.
It's beautiful. It kind of brings me back to my other point. I spoke about it earlier at your show. Like, there were so many Black women there that were so excited to see you and to support you. And I feel like it's also because we don't often see ourselves in spaces like that. I think in the last 5
Yeah.
6 years, it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like the support of Black women.
Literally not.
There's not like when Black women's like, I'm gonna show up for you.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing like it.
Speak to that a little bit about seeing all those Black women in the space. It was also the casting, the music, even your team behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There's just something very rich about that.
Yeah. I mean, for too long, Black women in fashion or involvement, or at least what the world sees of it, has just been performative. And you know, it's like, oh, something happens in culture, we need to show that we're diverse as like a corporate industry. Let's make sure we have Black models, which is important. We do need Black models, but there's so much more to it than that. It's like there needs to be a Black woman in every part of the process, you know? And yeah, like I was saying before, I wouldn't have a brand if it wasn't specifically for Black women in New York that work in the industry, that work in magazines, that have celebrity clients, that, you know, whatever, editors, like, if it wasn't for them being like, oh, hey, what's this? Let's like prop up this little sister of ours who we've never met, but is a Black woman and Jamaican.
Yeah.
And like, maybe I have a cousin that's Haitian, you know, like, you know what I mean? So let's prop her up. So if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be there. But it's just so much has been quiet or work. It's been invisible.
I agree.
And yeah, it's time for that to change. I mean,
me too.
I don't know what else I can say about it. It's just, it needs to happen.
Yeah.
And if I can do that in my way, by being who I am and by working with all the people I work with who are incredible, then yeah, maybe that is hopefully part of a beginning.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely see that. I see all of that. Having a huge ripple effect on other designers who come up behind you and also pushing your brand forward as well. That show, you also had like the insiders and the gatekeepers, so to speak, who were also going gaga over it. You had Vanessa Friedman.
Yeah.
She tweeted, I rarely say this, but I could see myself wearing both of these looks. And she was speaking to these gowns. And like, it was also the look with the pants, I think.
She liked the denim with the white kind of, the big shirt dress with the big peplums, as well as the morning coat that had that like stud paillettes yoke with the chiffon and the mesh tank underneath. Those are the ones that she wrote about.
I love it.
Iconic.
How does it feel when you get also that type of praise, where it's like you have your strong hold in your community, but you also have these like OGs who rarely say this.
Yeah.
But which I love. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing to read that stuff. I mean, I read every line and and try to read into every single word. And what does that mean? Is this criticism? Is this like praise? It was praise, but you know, I'm like, well, what does that one placement of that word mean and what they said? And I think it's because, I don't know, I'm such an overachiever.
Right, you are.
As a Capricorn, I can't help myself, but I'm just like, this is amazing that I have this attention now. This is the first thing they've seen. And I'm like, I got to make sure that I just one up on myself every time, you know? So that kind of praise is amazing and also a lot of pressure. I think about those reviews I mean, I think that's true for everybody, you know, but I think about that so much, you know?
Yeah. How do you take what you can and use it and then leave the rest? Because if you're not, you'd be probably so obsessed you'd be unable to work.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
I mean, I've been lucky. I haven't really had any negative feedback yet. Where's the wood in this place? Honestly, there's no wood.
There's no wood. No. Okay, listen. Listen.
I mean, I'm sure it will come at some point. That's just like how it works. But whenever there's something that I perceive as not the most positive or like some form of one small point of criticism, then that's the thing I usually focus on. But it's also because I love to prove people wrong.
Period. I love to too.
It's because I'm a Capricorn too, see?
I think it's because I'm a Black woman.
I think that's what it is. You know, like,
I'm like,
you don't expect me here. I'm
hold my drink. I'll be right back. You know? I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I'm fucking crazy.
I'm like, you didn't think I should be in this space?
Yes.
Well,
absolutely.
Here I am.
That's how I got anything in life.
Yeah.
Being like, I'm going to prove this 8th grade teacher wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so motivating.
It's so motivating.
Yeah.
It is a motivating force.
Yeah.
I have also played games with you. You are a very competitive human being. Like, I don't want to play games with you ever again. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. No, you played Ludi. You taught me how to play Ludi. And the first time it was really cute because we were just eating soup. And we were just like hanging at home. And then next time you were like, I'm a competitor. I came to win. Know that about Rachel.
It might be true. It might be true.
That's great because that's the fuel you need.
Yeah, you have to.
Right.
If you didn't have it, there's no way you would survive. I mean, this is a brutal industry.
Yes.
Especially when you're on the playing field is like you and like the richest man in the world's business. And that's who you're competing with.
Exactly.
I don't think he's the richest anymore. I think he got bumped down with the elections. I think he's like number 4. But it's like that's who you're competing against.
Yeah.
So you have to be somewhat delusional.
No, I agree.
You know?
I agree. I definitely agree that being a Delulu is how you get ahead.
Yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit about money because we talked about this last week. Mm-hmm. And we'll get back to some other things too, but you are up against these multi-million-dollar industry.
The reality is, like, if you are an independent brand and you don't have a line of credit, you don't have investors, you don't have like money coming in.
Yes.
Cash flow is really crazy.
Yeah.
So even if you are budgeting, which I'm very strict about, and like I do a lot with very little.
Yeah.
If someone pays you late,
because
I pay the people I work with as on time as I can because that's important to me. And no one, like, I don't have terms, but everyone else seems to have terms, you know? So it's like a difficult position to be in. And the premise is that you should just have a ton of working capital because you must be rich to have a business in fashion.
Right,
you know?
right.
Because that's who exists in this space. So yeah, I think it's like, it's an incredibly nerve-wracking place to be in.
Right.
I don't know if I've found the solution, but it's also like people just think there's so much money just flowing around. You know, people thought I won money winning Womenswear Designer of the Year. There's no money with that.
Right.
There's an award. It's a really prestigious award. I'm so honored.
Yeah. But
it doesn't come with money. And so people keep thinking like, oh, she keeps winning all of this stuff. Like there's just money flowing all over the place, you know?
Right.
That's just not the case.
Right.
That's not the case. We are, I think like the normal trajectory for becoming profitable in fashion is like 5 years if you have a lot of investment.
Okay.
I don't have any investment. So
if you were to get investment, who would be like your dream investor? Like qualities?
Someone. I mean, I honestly, I don't like to go into anything uneducated, and I feel very uneducated in this topic. I have to say.
Okay.
It's just not my background.
Yeah.
I know so much about running a business in fashion that, but that part, there's so much to know about it. I'm going to spend the next year educating myself. But I will say that if I were to take an investor, and I'm not sure I want one, because there is also the dream of being that independent brand that makes it. But even though it just gets much more difficult the more complicated the industry gets. But I would say if I were to, it would be someone that understands what I believe is a true notion of luxury, which is savoir-faire.
Explain what savoir-faire is to the audience.
It is knowing how to make things. It is like a true understanding of craft.
Right.
And I think when you often think about investment, you think on ROI, you think on like expectations with growth, and those expectations are not based in the reality of something that's made by hand. You know, so
I got you.
it would have to be someone that just loves beauty,
Yes,
and loves craft, and wants to maybe change the industry.
I love that.
But not that has, you know, not a brand, not a company or investor that has like the idea that every year you're going to triple on your sales. Because, you know, when they talk about like the quarterly reports on everything, it's if someone's not doing well, it's because they haven't grown as much as they grew the last year. I mean, that's madness. I mean, like this idea of like of profit in the world of capital is just, it's like, that is delusional. And so like, yeah, I think the understanding of what success is would have to be more based in like a physical, practical way and world.
Is that what success looks like for you? Like, it looks like you were able to create things.
Something beautiful, something that adds, something that isn't superfluous, something that has longevity, something that people enjoy, and that there is spirit in this thing, you know? Yeah.
I love that. How has it been finding success in your 40s? Like, because when we...
Well, I'm new to it.
No, listen. Listen.
My 41st is coming up.
We're young yet.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm 41. Okay. And when we met, you were like, tell me how it is. Because I'm a year younger
than you. Yeah.
And I think you've gone into your first year gracefully and beautifully. You've done a lot.
Yeah.
In 40. But how does success feel a little later in life? Just because you're not Forbes 30 under 30. That's what I meant to say.
I think I mean, maybe this is just me. I don't know. I think it would have been lost on me.
Yeah.
In my 20s.
Yeah.
And in my, even in my early 30s. I don't know. I wasn't ready. I couldn't have. It's not like I came from money. We're like, I was to school. I'm going to start my brand. Like, that's insanity. I think I appreciate so much more about the process and the thing itself that I don't know if I would have had this appreciation if I were younger. I think I would have taken it as all like, yeah, that's why you have these like young white men that come out of school and they're the next prodigy and then they literally act like that, you know, like, you know, the new Jesus or whatever. And it's just, I don't know that's that great. And I don't know that, I think that when you're in your 40s, you're still so young. It's like your mind.
Yeah.
I actually think I get younger as I get older. I think I would
definitely we don't look 40. I mean, okay.
But I think that, I know myself so much more.
Yeah.
I understand my language. I understand what I want to say. I don't know what I'm going to make. I think all of that happens through the process, of course. But it's just so much more fun. Like sometimes, like last night, I went home at 1 a.m. from the studio because my wife is not here. And so I took the opportunities to work all night. And I took a car.
Yeah.
And I was like going over Manhattan Bridge. And my favorite thing to do when I go over Manhattan Bridge is to like put my phone down and just look out the window and be like, damn, New York. Like,
I know.
You're amazing.
It's still a hell of a city.
Right? And I'm just so happy and grateful to be here and be doing what I'm doing. Like, it is... Yeah, you're not many people, especially Black women, have the opportunity. So I understand how lucky I am. But yeah, so that's really nice. You just appreciate things more.
I agree.
But your body is like, what the fuck? You are not 20.
Yeah.
You are not 20. Yeah. You cannot be working 7 days a week, 20-hour days, 365 days a year.
Right.
So my body told me that this year. She screamed at me a few times. So next year I have to figure out how to balance. Is something I think you start to need to learn in your 40s.
No, I agree. I definitely agree with that. And
if you have any advice, 1 year ahead of me.
I do isolate
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
And I have
I need to do that.
I've cut out drinking. So
I should probably do that.
But listen, that's what I love about you, though, because you are both an intellectual and a party girl. Like that, you're gonna get it popping. Like that is what I love about you. But yeah, I just isolate, and I'm very, very precious about my time now.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. Time is crazy.
Time is crazy. It's been a flat circle, and it's 2024 now, but it'll be 2025 when people hear this.
I'm still like, it's 2020 in my mind.
Oh, I know. Same here.
That was 5 years ago.
It was 5 years ago. You were still at Rachel Comey? You were still at Rachel Comey. What made you decide to start your own brand? Like, what was the impetus where you were like, what?
I love your innocent questions. Why would you do this?
No,
if you don't know.
I know. I'm just saying. I don't think I know this story. I'm like, you tell me. You tell me in the way that you want to tell me.
Okay.
I just don't know the story because I was like, yeah, you were like VP, and then you decided I'm gonna do this. I know you had $30,000 worth of savings.
That was my 20 years of working life savings.
Welcome to New York.
Welcome to being an immigrant and guessing a different salary. Welcome to being a Black woman, guessing a lower salary for the role that someone else would get plus 100K for. Anyway.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But why am I surprised?
Yeah, of course. That's how it works. Different prices. Anyway,
that's wild.
I'd wanted to have this brand for a very long time.
Yeah.
When I went to school, when I went to university, I wanted to be a fashion designer, but I didn't go to fashion school because I was like, I'm a child. I need an education. And I worried that it would be too narrow to go to fashion school.
Okay.
I really wanted as full of an education as possible. So I went to liberal arts school and I studied French and I studied arts. And then while I was doing that, I studied fashion and did internships. And then after I left there, I went to Milan. I did an intensive course for a year. And then at that point already, I knew, this is like 2006 or 7, I knew I wanted to have my own brand.
Yeah.
And I got an internship at Costume Nacional.
Right.
And then that became an assistant designer role. And, when you work in Italy, you have all of August off and like you have 3 weeks for the holidays. So luxurious. And they do that part really well.
They do that part very well.
So I would go home and I found this old notebook from when I was living in Milan. And in there, I had like a whole list of A, names for the business.
Okay.
B, techniques I was interested in and where I could find it in Jamaica, because it's always been super important to me to do something related to Jamaica.
Right.
I'm going like really roundabout with this. It's going to take a long time, but because it is a long time. It's 16, 17 years.
No, it is. It is a very long time.
So when I was at university, I had an internship at Vogue.
Which is so poetic.
And it was when it was at Times Square,
A period on Times Square.
Yeah.
4 Times Square. I don't know. 4.
And so the reason I got this internship was because there was this family friend in Jamaica who passed away last year, but incredible man named Winston Stono. And he was friends with Grace Coningson because they met in the 70s when she went to Jamaica on a shoot. Okay. And this man is just incredible. Like, he was in the bobsled movie. What was that called again?
Oh,
I can't remember.
About the Jamaican bobsled team?
Yeah. He was a businessman that invested in them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was also in The Harder They Come, The Policeman, like iconic man. Anyway, so he got me this internship and he was like, darling, I'm going to get you this internship at Vogue.
Yeah.
I'm like gagged. Yeah. I'm like, 19 or something.
That's how
gagged.
old you were. Okay.
And he's like, but when you build your career, never forget where you came from, you know? And that always stuck with me because what happens a lot, and I think this happens to lots of places, that we can't get into all of this, why it's difficult to have, you know, in just economically, it's difficult to have a career in anything outside of traditional careers in Jamaica. There's a long history behind that.
Okay.
But, stems from colonialism. But, but so a lot of people leave. I left at 18, you know, and a lot of people leave, and then that's it. Everything's gone. Not everything. There's incredible people there working and stuff, but it's like there's very few industries that you can be very successful in. And what ends up happening, and it's not entirely true. There are artists there are designers there are stylists, there are really talented people, but it almost like there's so much more energy that, you know, that could build these industries if people went back, you know, got the education and went back. But there's just not the way to, I don't know, incubate that kind of energy, you know, because it is like, it's an outsider industry there, you know? So anyway, that stuck with me for a long time. And I was like, well, whatever I do, I have to find a way to bring it home, you know? So I was thinking about techniques in Jamaica, and crochet was one of them. And there were other techniques that I haven't worked with, but I'd love to. So I had notes. I even went and visited some ladies on the North Coast who I work with now.
I love.
This is like 15 years before I started the brand. So anyway, all of this happens. I keep wanting to start a brand. I have no money. You work in the industry, so you work all the time. It's just an industry where you work all the time. And I just never was able to get it together to start it. And so pandemic happens, I'm still working, but for the first 3 months I'm working from home.
Right.
All of this stuff is happening in the world.
The world's on fire.
Yeah. And I am like, what am I doing? You know, and I'm sure me and everybody else in the world had like this like existential crisis where I was like, who am I? What am I doing? What is it for? Why am I not living? Like, I could die tomorrow of some bizarre disease I've never heard of, with a cold. Like, what am I doing? You know?
Right.
But, you know, I kept being really, I kept limiting myself because I was like, I don't have money, which is a real reason not to start a brand. But, you know, like I said, delusions. But also, like, damn, there are other brands that are like referencing Jamaica and the Caribbean.
Right.
There's like a handful of them. Almost maybe like more than a handful in Europe and New York. And I'm like, well, if that's happened, then there's definitely, I can't do a brand that's tied to Jamaica, even though I want to do something so badly that's tied to Jamaica, because I feel so much responsibility, you know, and not just tied to Jamaica with models and shooting campaigns in Jamaica. I mean, like a real engagement, you know, jobs, you know, like working with them.
Right.
And so I was like, damn, I can't start this brand because there are all these other brands and I'm just not even going to be considered. No one's going to pay attention to it, you know? And then, of course, a lot of...
For a second.
Yeah.
This is just a really good lesson to our listeners at home that if they feel like the market is quote unquote saturated and feel like they can't do something, you can do something. Okay.
That's some Auntie, like...
Just wanted to put that on there because this is a really good example of that. Carry on.
So then, obviously, some really horrific things happened that year, just in America.
Right.
You know, George Floyd, and then everything that happened after, obviously the resurgence and the like the spread of Black Lives Matter, which was incredible to experience that and to be here. But also, like, it was this moment of grief, but then this moment of anger. And it was like, hold on a second, like, what do you mean I can't talk about Jamaica? Because there's like 5 million brands talking about French style, and like every brand that we've been told is amazing is like, I don't want to say it, but basically, you know, propaganda of white supremacy. So why can't we have 1 million Black brands, you know?
Especially a quiet luxury. Yes.
Oh my God. That's what I'm speaking about specifically. So I was like, actually, this is me assuming racism
Mm-hmm.
to think that I shouldn't add to discourse.
Right.
So I have to. I actually have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is my responsibility to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we are.
No, I love that because it brings me to my next topic of like decentering European luxury with crochet and with your commitment to Jamaica and because I think you take it and you use it in a couturier type of way.
I hope I am. That's
You do. You drape it on the body, no?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, talk to me a little bit more about decentering Europe out of this conversation of luxury and how, you already spoke to it a little bit of just like, I didn't feel like I could talk about Jamaica, but everybody else could talk about France or Italy or London or whatever. But, you had to kind of, I don't know, silence yourself a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think the way that we understand value is obviously highly problematic.
Yes.
And it is a tool for capitalism,
right?
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I think that in fashion, in luxury, our understanding of luxury is based on, of course, on craft, but like more so on brand, heritage, and place, right? And I think it's just been really distorted, our understanding of luxury. For me, luxury is like someone knowing how to make something incredibly beautifully,
right,
in a way that I could never make it,
right.
And within making that thing, there are centuries of knowledge that brought us to this place, right? That is luxury. That someone makes something not in a mass produced way that like has to exist at the time scale of the human hand. Like, that is luxury.
Yeah.
And of course, the brands that there is like we're in contradiction with are making things, beautiful things, but more importantly, it's this idea of pedigree, heritage that we are buying into, right? And I think that it's perverted. It's been perverted, and I would love to find a way to just reorient our understanding of luxury towards what it actually is. And I think the thing is, like, there's so many examples of the fact that it's not about a place. Like when I was living in Milan and I worked for Costume, we did all of our embroidery in India. So it's not a new thing. Like, the knowledge of embroidery in India is unmatched.
Right.
It's unmatched.
That's where we go.
I mean, it's just centuries of, and so many people know how to do it. It's just part of their history and their culture. But no one spoke about India in the mid-2000s. Only now are these major brands talking about, India and embroidery made there, like hundreds of years too late,
Right.
And that's just like simply, and like, it's okay if it comes from that brand, that brand can then like mint that as a great place because they have the heritage and they are European. So I think,
yes.
I think like it's really important to take this idea of luxury away from a place. It's not about a place. It's about a knowledge and an execution and a history.
You better say that. No, I love that. That's why I really think it's important to invest in your work. I like on a personal level, because I have started to buy a lot more of your work because, and listen, it's expensive because it's craft. It is actual craft. How many women do you have working for you?
With the crochet, there's like, it ranges, depends on the season kind of, or what they're doing. Cause some of these ladies are like, I'm busy for the next 6 months. But about 15.
You've a couturier of 15 women in Jamaica
doing
who are doing the crochet. And putting the emotion into the work, putting the talent into the work. So it's like, okay, I need to invest in these pieces. And I'm just curious, have you had a hard time, getting people to write that check? Because a lot of what your crochet is, it's kind of founded in a female virtue or a female tradition, you know, and so subsequently people, to your point around value, may doubt its value.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just education. We need to educate people.
Right. Yeah.
Crochet can only be made by hand.
Which is,
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
It cannot be made by machine.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's radical in the world of AI, you know, like, sorry, AI, you haven't figured this out yet.
So the skirt you're wearing right now.
This is not crochet. So this is knit.
Okay.
So this is actually machine made.
Okay.
But yeah, crochet. I mean, the spaghetti on your pan is cut, rolled by hand. Like, even if something is machine, there is a hand on every single piece.
Right.
And I think it's about education of the customer, and it's really great to talk to the buyers and then go to the stores and talk to these people are so highly educated in clothes and clothes making that they can see it, but it's like, it's how do you communicate it? Like, what is the messaging? But I think there hasn't really been that much price hesitancy, but it's also like, which is great because it is what it costs.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think it's more like my orders aren't, you know, massive, you know, there's so much room for growth there. And I think that's more about brand awareness more than an understanding of because you can see it when you see the clothes in person, I hope.
Absolutely.
But it's more about just awareness of the brand, I think.
Period.
Yeah.
So was some brand awareness that we're doing in the new year?
I'm in the Woolmark Prize.
Oh, period.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a finalist. Jamaican.
You are
wool. We wear wool.
You are a cow. I love it. You are such a fierce competitor. I love it so much. When will you find out?
I don't know. The finals are either the end of March or beginning of April.
Okay.
So I have to go and present, and so I won't know until the day of.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
That's incredible.
But you gotta find ways to get that coin.
No, I get it. I totally get it. But
it's also like, these prizes, of course, you do them because you want to try and get free cash into your business.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But also it's really good exposure.
Yeah.
There's really great mentoring.
Yeah.
There's like with the Woolmark Prize in particular, there's a whole educational element. Like, of course, I thought I knew about merino wool, but I'm learning more about merino wool. And I love the material, so it's like fun to experiment in that way. What can I do like that's different with it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I also was really curious about like what you want to do next with crochet, because you've starched it, you've embellished it, you've draped it, you've cut it out. Is there something else you're really excited about working on it with?
I mean, I really love draping the crochet. I think that is very unusual. People don't usually work like that with crochet.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to give that up. I think that's very much like, that is signature.
Yeah.
I don't know what the motifs will be. I actually don't even know the silhouettes because it's a very intuitive process. I'm going to be working on that over the holidays in Jamaica.
You'll be inspired while you're away. You'll find something and like come back.
Exactly. But I don't know. I think for next year, I just want to do everything but better. Keep expanding.
Great.
Like, I have touched on footwear a little bit. I have some footwear that I'm working on for fall. I'm super excited about.
Nice.
But also at this point, I'm like, I just won Womenswear Designer of the Year after 3.5 years of business. Maybe I could open a retail store next year. Who knows?
I would love that for you.
I don't have a multi anything, but you never know. Because I've found my scrappy ways to get things done. So, like, who knows? Maybe I'll have a brick and mortar in New York. I mean,
I think that's important. I think especially in this political climate, I think it's really important for you to like lay your roots.
Yeah.
Especially when we are up against administration that wants to push
Exactly.
immigrants out and push that brain trust out. And and I think definitely plant some roots. You are planting roots, but I think the store would be even more exciting.
Yeah. Any developers on here want to?
Girl, this is what it is. We are manifesting. We are manifesting.
Yeah, but I also think there's like so much like, I don't know. I never shop. A, I don't have money to do it, and B, I wear all my clothes. I don't go shopping. It's not a thing I do. And I never did, even when I didn't have my brand.
Really?
I'm not a big shopper.
Okay.
But if I am going to buy something, I am going to the shop. I want to talk to the person and like have a, you know, I want to spend time and like, because if you're going to spend money, you know, it needs to be, you need to have an experience. And I also like, I want to talk about the clothes with the people. I want to have like, I don't know, it's like intimacy. It's not intimacy in the way we normally think of it, but it is.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really nice to have a space. And, you know, sometimes I open up the studio and people come and I end up spending like hours talking to people I've never met about like, God knows, like how the crystal mesh feels on the body, you know? But I think that having a space where people can come all the time and have like this intimate connection to the brand, but the clothes would be really nice. So it's a goal. We'll see when it happens, but I'm working on it.
I would love to see it because I always loved talking about your clothes with you and learning more about how they're made, and I think it makes it even sweeter when I wear it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is starched, and if you're gonna restarch it, this is how you have to do it, and don't put it in the dry cleaner because they will flatten this. Like you have to you have to get it wet, like the whole thing. I love learning more about that. I want to talk a little bit about like the magic of the clothes too. I think there is a real sexiness. There's a real hedonistic quality. I mean, your muse is a sex worker. Diotima.
Yeah.
She is. I want to talk about sex as a, you know, creative force or like,
Absolutely.
you know.
That's absolutely what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly, I mean, you bring it up Diotima, but, so Diotima, you're not asking this question, but I have to now explain it.
I told you
You found such a great way, but now in order to talk, I have to explain it. So she's a figure in Plato's Symposium, and she explains love to Socrates.
Yes.
She's like the only female figure. It's unclear if she's real or invented for the symposium. But this is, you can't find this anywhere, but I do have friends who are Greek, who are philosophy professors, who have told me, I know, random, I know. I'm a surprising girl.
Not a surprise at all that you have Greek philosopher friends.
They've told me, I don't know how to pronounce this word, so I'm going to butcher it, but she, if she was real, she would have been an etere or etera. I think it's Hetaera, something like that, which basically was a very specialized type of prostitute who would also educate. And I'm like,
yeah,
you know,
because they were the only ones that had access to libraries. Courtesans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I really got to her, or
Women,
was inspired by her through Eros and Civilization by Marcuse, and I got to Marcuse through Angela Davis, my queen.
I love that.
Yeah, that's how it all came. Everything is like so convoluted in my mind, but anyway, so she, so Marcuse brings her up in his discussion about Eros, like desire and civilization, and like how civilization can be repressive and all of this. But he was like, the idea of her is that you can take desire and you can sublimate it, so you can like use it towards building things in a non-repressive way. So you're not repressing your desire, but you're using that to like build beauty and culture. And that is like so powerful for me. That's how I want to live life, you know, because so much about the world we live in is about libido, you know.
It is.
It really is. Like they play on your libido, or libido's repressed. Like it is a very powerful creative force that we can and should use towards building culture in the ways that we can.
I agree with that. And in a way that doesn't feel like sex sells.
No.
You know? Yeah.
And nothing's wrong with that, but it's like, it can be way more nuanced.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like, yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of the clothes, I mean, I hate to say it, but like, our idea of what sexy is for women has always been a man's idea of what is sexy for us.
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
And I don't know. I mean, what I find sexy is not what every woman thinks is sexy. I don't believe in that kind of universality, but I do think like if I feel sexy in a sweater, then with this mesh skirt with all of this volume and like movement, then maybe someone else will find it sexy. And there's volume and movement, but on me, it's like form fitting, but not in an uncomfortable and restrictive way. I'm not into restriction very much. I like ease. That maybe someone else would enjoy that, you know, and would feel sexy in it. Or maybe sometimes I want like a really sharp trouser, but like it's not uptight, you know, there's like something a little bit undone, because I think like that, I'm so super interested in this idea of the nuance and complexity of a woman, that she can be like boss, and then she can be like a little bit undone, and then she can be sexy, and then she can be really reserved, and she can be all of these things. And it's so beautiful.
And I think that's really is encapsulated in your collection, because you have like everything from embellished crochet pants and poom poom shorts to gowns to tailored pieces to suiting, and even like your larger caftans, which are they do hide the form. You know? But you'd also figured out a way to like pinch it so you do get something, you get some silhouette there too. I love it. I think personally these are the best pants I've ever. And I'm not just saying that because you're my friend. I'm saying that because they are the best pants that I've ever worn, because I am a curvy woman and I do not wear pants. Pants are inconvenience. Yes, they are difficult, and I have to get them tailored every time.
There's so much behind that. I've like struggled with that because I'm curvy.
Yes.
And I struggle with that my whole career. And it's like, who is your fit model? Because a lot of times fit models at these companies are like very straight.
Yes.
They maybe have like bust, but they have no hips, they have no ass. And like, I was like, we need to make sure that my fit model has volume in both places, like, and has a little hip, and then like I'll try things on. I used to be able to try things on, not at the moment, but when I get my when I get my personals, I'll be like, well, I like this, but for like a curvier person, maybe I could do this better. And I think about this a lot, because I want to wear the clothes as a curvy person, and I want to feel like they fit, and I'm not like, it's not fighting against my body.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think it's just like a lot of people don't think about that.
They don't.
They're like, does it fit the fit model perfectly? You know?
Yeah.
And that's it. And the fit model is this one body type that excludes a lot of body types, you know?
Absolutely.
But then it's also like, I hate to say, like, I do things with give and stretch, because like so much of like curvy women have been forced to wear that. But I'm like, maybe you can still do that, but find a way that it can be interesting, you know, like the crystal mesh, for example. Like the reason I started doing that was because it's a long story, but I also wanted to have things that could fit multiple bodies, you know, and like size wasn't going to be a limitation. Size of the clothing or size of the person wasn't going to be a limitation. It could work on multiple bodies and everyone would feel fab in it. But yeah.
No, and you've done an incredible job of that. And I think the crystal mesh is such a really beautiful silhouette in that you're sexy, but it's also really tailored too, just from like the structure of the suspenders and then the expansion of it on the body. And you made a custom piece for the woman that officiated your wedding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like,
actually that wasn't custom. That was a sample.
Which is incredible. That's the future.
Yeah.
That's why you were nominated and you won. You know, that's like the future talking right there in your work. Because that's so incredible for so many people to feel seen in your work. And I'd be remiss if I did not discuss how queer Diotima is and how you specifically bring queer Jamaicans in and how incredible they feel in your clothing. I know Imani was a good friend of yours. She's a model and she was shot at the National Gallery. Yeah. Tell me about the reaction of Diotima for queer Jamaicans and how they feel seen and in this conversation around luxury, which I know is super important.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they've been dismissed and ignored for so long. And it was always really important to me from the beginning, even before I knew I was queer myself. But it was really important to me. And now they're like, I don't know, they're my biggest supporters.
Yeah.
They're so incredible. They're like, they'll also fight for me. If someone does something, best believe they're going to show up on the internet and let you know that you ripped off my crochet, or like, you know what I
feel
mean?
like that's Sade's like second job. She's like, what is this? Zara or whomever.
Oh my God.
I love it.
It's like a little army of like, they're amazing. They're incredible. But it's just like, for me at first, it was like, if I'm going to talk about culture related to Jamaica and the Caribbean, I need to do it in the way that that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
From an outsider's perspective. For example, like Jamaica and Caribbean's always had this like exoticized lens, and it's just all resorts and beaches and all of that. So that was really important to me to change. But then it was also really important for me to change how Jamaicans and Caribbeans viewed a Jamaican brand. And so with that, I was like, actually, the Caribbean is also queer. And so I put a trans woman in my third lookbook and shot her in the National Gallery with her ass out climbing down the stairs. And they had no idea. Like, I don't think Jamaica knew. It was printed when the lookbook came out. It was printed in the Sunday newspaper.
Was
like a full
it?
spread?
You are always in the newspaper in Jamaica.
Oh, they're wild. I'm like, guys, I don't have usage rights for these images like this. But they're wild. They're amazing.
I love that.
So they printed it, and I was like, little do they know.
Right.
You know, but I think it's so complicated. Like how, you know, the LGBTQ community in the Caribbean, it's like, it's obviously and historically a very homophobic place out of colonialism.
Right.
But it's also changing, and I think that there are incredible people doing work on the ground, like my wife.
Yes.
Like these trans women that I just referred to, and others. And that's not my work. That's not what I do. But I can do this. I can have representation. Like I can have them in my shows, in my lookbooks, and working with me. Like that shoot, it wasn't just Imani in the lookbook, but there was also Shauna doing the makeup for the shoots, you know? And so I'm like, if I can change the narrative of Jamaican style in so many ways, it especially has to include how we talk about queerness in the Caribbean.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's necessary. And I think you're doing it. And I love that also the judges at Connect were wearing Diotima
at the balls. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they like all the girlies are wearing Diotima at the balls. I love that. And they hold you down. We have to wind down a little bit, but I want to talk about this year of transformation for you, because not only have you won all these competitions, but your personal life, you've also really won. You got married and you're a wife. And I want to know what it was like to plan your wedding. I was there at your engagement, which is so super special. I'm like getting emotional back because it was really beautiful. It was really so special. I just want to know about married life and like doing it over again and like on your terms.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's nice to think you can do it over again at any time, you know?
Yes.
I found out I was queer at 37 and I was married, and it was, you know, an unfortunate way and time to find out, but also really amazing. And I'm so grateful it happened. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a divorcee and a married woman. I think it's chic, right?
It's very chic. It's very auntie.
I know. Girl, I am.
If I must.
You may be the favorite auntie, but I'm giving original, like, fashion auntie Jamaican. Can't wait. I can't wait to keep being an auntie hardcore. No, it was really a beautiful year in so many ways. The wedding, planning the wedding. I'm not. So It's really funny. My wife, who's like super mask and like tough, is such a romantic.
Yeah.
She's so romantic. And also kind of like a little bit more traditional when it comes to these.
Yeah, I know you.
I'm like, whatever, we'll have a party.
Yeah, you probably really were. You're
I was like,
it's a party.
why are we planning?
At
Oh,
the
she also
house.
loves to plan.
Oh, I didn't
And
know
I'm
that.
not a planner, which is weird because I'm a Capricorn, but I'm also Libra rising Cancer moon. So it's a little Sagittarius Venus.
Okay.
Problems. Anyway, so she likes to plan, but I was like, we're gonna plan it after Fashion Week. So we got married in the spring, and Fashion Week, is February. So I was like, we just can't plan it right now. We can just tell everyone when it's gonna be, and then we'll plan it after. And she was really patient.
Right.
Unbelievably so, because that's not her vibes. And like, she's also like, this is her dream. It was her dream to like have a wife. She's known she's queer since she was a young teenager. And was persecuted for it.
Right.
And all she wanted was like family, a wife, and like this beautiful thing, And anyway, so I'm really lucky she was patient with me. And then after we basically planned the wedding in 2 weeks, so let's be honest. Some things fell through.
Yeah.
And I called up my friend Gabby. And I was like, Gabby, can we have a wedding in one of your buildings? and Adriana, iconic. And we just put it together quickly. But it was also like really important for it to be reflective of my world and Diotima, Sade's world and Connect, the worlds colliding and family, and just like a beautiful expression of like queer Caribbean love, in as much a way as possible. And so like, there was everything from a drink called Head Top, which if you don't know is a name of a dance in Jamaica, look it up.
Okay.
Just to think about it.
Is it pee popping on his handstand?
There's some upside down stuff happening. And to like Queen Jean officiating.
Okay.
To like all of the poetry. There was nothing Christian about it because neither of us are. But it had like the form, but it was all about queer love and radical queer love, and the poetry that was read, and a lot of bell hooks. And of course, I was like the only one that didn't read bell hooks, but I read Angela Davis. Gorgeous music, beautiful flowers, incredible people, a ballroom section.
Yes.
Where my mother almost won.
I love your mom.
Ruth, yeah.
She's such a legend.
She is a legend. Yeah. Sagittarius queen.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it was gorgeous. And then we ended up at a strip club after that my cousin took us to.
I didn't know that. But that's kind traditional. Yeah.
He was like, you have to.
No, it is. It's very American tradition to wind up at a strip club at some point.
I didn't know. I didn't do that the first time around.
Well, listen. This time you really got it in.
Still the deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm happy. It was so beautiful, and I loved your dress, and I love what you made for Sade, and it was really a beautiful representation of love in our community, because I feel like, not everyone likes their partner, and you do. You really, really do. That's a very special thing, and your love is really beautiful to watch. I think as your friend, I also have noticed how you coming into and claiming your queer identity maybe parallel and analogous with your success as well.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen you really I feel like when we met, you were a little shy, and then you increasingly told me you're the T, and then
I am still kind of shy, weirdly.
You are, but
shy.
But then you told me the T, and as you were telling me the T, you were really becoming more public facing, and I felt like the momentum was growing, and now I feel like you walking in your truth and living in your truth is such I don't know, it's a real fuel for your success.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I wouldn't have started the brand if it hadn't been for the pandemic, and I wouldn't have known I was queer if I hadn't done something that I believed in for myself, and said no to doing things I didn't believe in, and said yes to what I wanted for myself, and then that basically unraveled my whole life, and then it rebuilt in a really beautiful way, and a way that was much more true to who I am.
I love that. That's a lesson, kids. It's true.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are scared to do the uncomfortable thing.
Oh, it was super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I cried for a year, and I do not like crying.
My beautiful, unemotional Capricorn. Well, it's paid off in dividends. And now I feel like you create really freely. And it's really like beautiful to watch. So I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you.
I have one question for you, because we were seeing so many different appointments. Would you want to helm a house one day?
I mean, here's the thing. It's like, it's also kind of a dream to work for a house like that.
Yeah.
Because limitations are not really a thing.
Right.
Because all we do, and as you're if you're an independent emerging brand, you just work with limitations. Everything is limited, like resources, in terms of finances, in terms of manufacturers, in terms of how much time you have, because you spend so much time doing all these other things. Like, you're always just up against the wall, but that's fine. That like breeds a certain level of like tenacity, but also creativity, and also like, you just like innovate within a really tight space. But like, of course, if I had a massive atelier, an incredible team, like nothing limiting me, every material I wanted to use, I could use a 500 euro cashmere, just drape like 10 meters of it, casually. Like, that would be incredible. Not to say I want to be wasteful. I just mean like, I would love to be able to have the opposite, where you work without limitations.
Yeah.
And you also work from a space of power, like, because you are in the world of the heritage, where there's already credibility and value, and see what I could do there. I mean, but it would have to be the right thing. But I also like have dreams of like, maybe there are brands that have not existed for a while that I'm obsessed with, that maybe one of these conglomerates might want to buy up, and then I'll be here waiting for the call.
I love that. Yeah, a resurgence.
I would love that. I would love to rebuild a brand. I think that's exciting. I don't know why I like to give myself a lot of work. I'm like, give myself the hardest possible road.
Makes it even sweeter.
Yeah.
We like to prove people wrong.
Exactly.
Give it to me hard.
Yes.
I talked about that in therapy last week too.
Yeah. I mean, it is a Black woman condition.
It is, but we really are, like Lauryn Hill. Don't be a hard rock when you really are a gem. Just a reminder. Also, this is the question we're asking everybody.
Yeah.
Your Auntie Rachel.
Yes.
You are Auntie Rachel.
Yes, I am.
You have a new baby
girl, Evelyn Rachel Scott.
Isn't it so chic when they take your...
And I have a nephew.
Yes, you have a gorgeous nephew who wore the tiniest mesh tank I've ever seen to your wedding.
I bought that for him when he was born.
Oh.
And it was like a dress.
Oh.
Like a gown, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And then he grew into it, a little string bean with a tiny mesh tank, because he said he wanted to look like Auntie Rachel.
Period.
And Shade has a little nephew, Azir. Yeah.
Yes. I love being an auntie. It's such a powerful role, because you aren't like authoritarian. You aren't a disciplinarian. You're just like really there to advocate for them.
Yeah.
And it's really important for them to have you in their lives as that. But as Auntie Rachel, what piece of advice would you give the children that they need to listen to? It could be about love, life, work.
I think just probably never accept status quo, and just do what feels right for yourself. And there is always a way to break through.
Always. I agree with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You were brilliant. And where can we find you?
Ooh, at
Yeah.
Bergdorf Goodman, Moda Operandi, the Webster, Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus, Macmillan, Net-a-Porter, and small boutiques in Japan, Europe, the Middle East, and America.
Where in Middle East?
That concept store, have you heard of it?
No, where is that?
And there's another one, I forgot the name.
Incredible.
Yeah.
You're global. Jamaica to the world.
Exactly.
Thank you. Well, that's it for this week, BBs. I want to say thank you to my guest, the genius that is Rachel Scott, for joining me today. And thank you so much for listening. I hope you loved this conversation as much as I did. If you want to show your love for Auntie, be sure to subscribe, share this episode with your community, and leave us a review in the App Store. It makes a world of difference. Until next time, Auntie sends her love. If you enjoyed this episode and want to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. To stay up to date with Auntie and all my shenanigans, you can follow me on Instagram at Your Favorite Auntie Show and at Marjon_Carlos and on TikTok at Your Favorite Auntie Show. If you want more Auntie pro tips in between episodes, please subscribe to our Substack newsletter, Notes from Auntie's Desk.